What's up guys, Mike here from Game Dev with AI. Today I'm super excited because today I'm turning 40. It's my birthday and I'm very excited to share the progress of our game. I made quite a big progress during the last days. We have a lot of cool features that I was able to implement, so I cannot wait to share them with you and discuss different things that I already implemented and how I did it. In this video we are gonna cover creating a big background for our game. In the past it was just one screen, now it's much bigger. I call it megatexture. And then we were able to implement the scroll of the camera using our keyboard. You can see this little face, it's basically a camera. I will explain how I did it. Later, of course, we can hide it, but camera is scrolling really well. And also, we were able to implement zoom with a wheel. You can see we can now zoom in, zoom out. Our map became really big and you can zoom in. Plus, we improved our logic of the capturing the flags. We added the robot factory, and we can even edit first particle effect. Look at this. When we're capturing the tower, we have a little splash. Ta-da! Like little fireworks. Plus, I added the cursor. You can see this colorful green X. When we capture the tower, it's changing colors now, and it's doing this splash. So that's all I'm gonna quickly cover in this video. So are you ready? Let's follow my challenge together. Let's get started. First, what's the difference between tile set and creating megatexture? There are two ideas, as far as I could find, on how you can develop a background in real-time strategy games, in 2D games I mean. The first one is a common one, it's called a tile set. So what's a tile set? You create a set of tiles like this, which cover all the possible combinations of the terrain. For example, we have here, what is this? Sand and grass. So you need all combinations of between sand and grass from all different angles. Plus you have some extra tiles such as trees, so you can later draw a map, a whole map using these different tiles in the tiled background. So after you draw, your background will look something like this, or something like this. This is very common in games, and you can create beautiful, meaningful maps exactly like you want it to be. Basically, it's like a map editor. You know this. The second approach is creating megatexture, which means you draw the whole map yourself. So something like this. So we have a giant, like 8K resolution or even bigger image where you draw everything from scratch. You draw the trees, you draw the roads. So something like this. So it's just one big file. There are no tiles here. You put it on the background, and if your computer is powerful enough, it will handle it just fine. In the past it wasn't possible, but modern computers are just powerful. So it's not a big deal having such a giant background for the map. For now, at the time of this recording, I don't know which approach I will use. So let me quickly cover the pros and cons of each approach. If we are talking about mega map, this is very beautiful, and this is actually AI generated. I will show you later in this video how I did it in just 1 hour. The problem with this approach, there are two problems. There is no obstacle map here. So basically we can walk everywhere we want. So we'll need to manually draw the obstacle maps here. Plus it's quite beautiful, but it's very cluttered. I cannot tell my AI, Midjourney, exactly that I want a road to go here, that I want this size of the lake. It's just randomly putting trees everywhere, randomly putting roads everywhere. So if you're creating a meaningful map, it will be really hard to work later with it, because imagine if we let people if we let our units walk only on the roads, you see our roads are not connected together. And if you look closer, we have like trees everywhere. We cannot go through trees. So this map, though it looks beautiful, it doesn't make much sense in the real game, if you're making a real gameplay. That's a big problem, and I cannot make it like make road here, make road there. That's a big problem, it's just making roads randomly. But the advantage is I was able to do this big beautiful map in just 1 hour. It's very fast. Now with tiles, it's using less memory, it's more professional approach, but it's very tedious and long process creating these tile sets. I could research this topic, and on Steam there is a game called Tile Setter, which is basically not a game, it's just an app which helps you create your own tiles. So you choose different tiles, and then it's quite difficult. I still didn't fully understand how to do it. This is a very long, tedious process. Then we right click, we build borders blob. So this process is very long, and just researching how to do tiles, how to do different corners, I checked different tutorials and I still couldn't understand it. So when you're just getting started, this is way too much for me. That's why for now I decided to go with a megatexture approach, and later we can come back to the tile setter and learn more about it. So for now, let's not just focus on it. So let me quickly show you my process of creating this giant megatexture using an AI. Remember, everything we do here, well, almost everything, we try to do with the help of AI. That's the whole point of our challenge. That's why I go to Midjourney. Then I need to generate a lot of different variations of the background. So remember what we discussed in our previous video. We need to get a seed. So this way we'll have similar variations instead of recreating different style. Like see here the problem. Here and here, they're way too different in style, so I cannot merge them together. It must be closer to this style for me. That's why I need to go here, and then I find my image. You see, here I generated a big amount of images like this. Then I need right click and find the seed. Somewhere here I found the seed. If you struggle finding the seed, check my previous video where I already explained how we find the seed, and this way we generate a lot of backgrounds in the same style. You see, all of them are in the same style. There is no problem with the style. And the only problem we have here, all our roads, all our trees, and this is all completely random. I cannot set the roads to go the way I want. Midjourney is just making random beautiful images for me. That's a big problem for now in this approach. So you see, I generate more with different backgrounds, and each time I add seed and seed number. This way the style is very consistent from image to image. It's the same style. So I generate a lot of them, then I upscale them and save them. I save all of them, and finally I'm going to Dall-e. It's OpenAI editor, and in Dall-e I can upload different images. Then I can erase the seam between images, and then I make Dall-e create the seamless transition between these two images. Take a look, this is just like magic. It creates in this exact style transition between two images. Then I upload more images, I move them around, I position them. That's my whole process. Then I erase the seam. This takes about 1 hour. That's why I'm showing you as a recording, not in real time, because this would take way too much time. I speed up this footage a little bit to make it a little bit faster, but it's still quite fast. This is not days of work, this is just minutes. You see, it's creating perfect seamless transitions between. Then I upload next one. All right, we position it somewhere. You see, it's making really beautiful map, but it's completely meaningless. So it's just random roads somewhere, it's random trees. The way I want to make a good map for the strategy game is to define where roads I need to be. It has to be exact, it cannot be just random roads somewhere, random trees. So for now, this is my main challenge with this approach. Everything is very random. But look how beautiful it is. This is like magic, guys. The whole process, I put more, I select more. You see, then I create transitions. Create an outpainting seamless transition between these two images showing mobile game style, top down, filled with grass and trees. That's the prompt I use in Dall-e. So original images are made in Midjourney, and Dall-e is just creating this mega map. On the south, I decided to do some little bit more deserty, and it's struggling a little bit transitioning between greens and deserts. It's really liking having everything in the same style. Like if you have greenery, don't put too much of sand, because Dall-e is struggling to understand what's the transition between sand and between, but it figured it out just fine. You can see it's doing just fine. Sometimes if it gives you bad results, you can still erase, and then you can fix a little bit even more. On the north, I decided to put a little bit of, you know, like snow, something. So I saved all my images. Here we got a little more. On the south, little bit more water. I'm putting a little bit more water on the south. Okay. And on the north, we're putting, you know, like kind of snowish mountains and stuff like this. And it's really struggling to do transition between greenery and grass, so I removed it with snow. Here we have an ocean. Looks good, but this style is not consistent. This is more consistent. As you can see, it's struggling to do transition between these two different styles. So keep the style consistent using seed. It's very important. So here is our megatexture. It's basically ready. Now we just go to our construct tree. We create a new background layer. We called it megatexture. See? Megatexture. And we upload here this giant megatexture in JPEG format. This is just a giant file. Really big one. Now if we go to our layout and we scroll out, okay, you can see I position it like this. Our starting screen will be in top left corner, and the size I change for 4000 by 2000. So now you see that's black rectangle. This will be a visible area of our game. So I didn't include these north parts. These parts look good and they will be included for now. So if I run our game, this whole thing will be useful. Now I just spread out our towers. I added more towers around the map, so it's not all cluttered here. Remember, like I said, the problem with this approach, there is no obstacle map, so people and our units can walk through everywhere through woods. So this is a big problem. For now, I'm not going to solve it too much, but what I did is I position our water objects over the water on the background. So if they walk through here, this will be acting like water, for example. You can also actually create like invisible solids in the shapes of trees, for example. So this will be blocking the way. So there are ways to solve this later. For now, I don't want to worry about it. For now, since we have such a big map, the most important for me is to add the camera and the scroll. So, how we create the camera in our real-time strategy using Construct Tree. I've been looking for different video tutorials and I only found cameras that follow the player in platformers. Most people are doing platformers, not real-time strategy games with Construct. So there was no ready solution available, unfortunately. They have an object called 3D camera, but that's not what we need. Our game is not 3D. So I asked ChatGPT to help me with this, and the first solution that it gave me didn't work at all. It told me to create a sprite and to apply scroll to behavior for the sprite. But then it just didn't work properly. So this first solution unfortunately failed. I wasted a lot of time on this. The movements were not smooth at all. It was terrible. So I asked it doesn't work properly, just give me different solution. And the second solution that it gave me actually worked really well. So what we did here is creating an object and applying a direction behavior to it. So if we switch back to our construct, you can see I created a sprite with this silly face, which will represent our camera. It's the elevation is up, so it's a little bit higher. Obviously later we'll just make it invisible, but for now it represents where we are looking basically. And we're gonna be moving this silly sprite using our VSAD buttons on the keyboard. And then our view will be following this little sprite. So if I run the game, you can see if I press buttons on my keyboard, it starts moving. But if we don't pay attention to this guy and just look at the camera, basically it just moves the camera perfectly. And it's really smooth and it's just perfect. Great solution. And it doesn't go out of bounds as well. So everything is solved here perfectly. Now I edit, where's our camera? I right click and I edit behavior, and I have two behaviors. Bound to layout, this prevents it going outside of the bounds, so our camera doesn't go outside. And then we have edge directions. Edge directions is usually used for platform games, but in this case it works perfectly for me. When I apply edge direction behavior to this guy, you can see on the left here in the settings I set max speed 1000, acceleration, deceleration 3000, edge directions 8, allow sliding yes. Default controls are removed because we are gonna bind our own buttons, enabled, and later obviously I can remove it visibility, and then it will be just fine. Now let's go to our code, and I created a new part called camera scroll and zoom. So let me explain to you what I did here. I created also keyboard object in our object types, which is a keyboard object. It doesn't do anything, we just create it. This way our game will be taking input from the keyboard, and then on the keyboard object it's checking if key is down, and I set S, for example, which should move camera down. Then what this will do is for our camera object it should simulate control down. The same for A, it should simulate control pressing left. For W it's up. For D, it's moving to the right. So that's all we need. Basically, now our keyboard buttons are we bind them to our camera sprite, which will be moving around. Now, the next step, for every tick, we need to scroll our view to the position of this camera guy. So all we have to do is we set a system action, set scroll to camera X coordinate and camera Y coordinate. This way, camera will be following where this sprite is moving. Hope it makes sense. Now we need to add zoom. A zoom is very easy to do with the camera. How it's called? Middle button. Middle wheel. Camera. Oh, I mean mouse wheel. So I asked ChatGPT how to do zoom functionality, and it basically says we need to create actions for our mouse on wheel scrolled up action and on wheel scroll down action, and we change layout scale, and this formula it gave me. So you can see I implemented this mouse on mouse wheel down, we set scale to this formula, and mouse wheel up, we set scale to this formula. I had to play around with these values a little bit so it doesn't scroll or doesn't zoom too much. And the result, if I move my mouse, I mean if I roll the wheel, my brain is not working today, I have been working all night. So now it's perfectly zooming in and zooming out. See? It's really good. I love that we can zoom in, zoom out in the 2D game. We can quickly see the whole map. But I also wanted to implement the pan with when you press and hold the mouse wheel, it should pan around. But this takes too much time. I asked how we can do it. How we can pan camera when we hold mouse wheel, but this is a lot of work to do, so I will do this later. There are a couple of small things that I also implemented, which I'm not going to cover in detail because they're not completely polished for now. There are some mistakes here. Basically what I did is I implemented the building process. This way our fort is building tanks every 15 seconds, and this is countdown. So tanks should appear once this countdown is out, and this should come out. See? So remember, the main resource in our game is time. So the more towers you have, the faster production will be. So your goal is to capture all the towers. And this is a robot factory which will be producing robots every 15 seconds. So now if I capture the tower, it should reduce time to 13 seconds. So now production will be faster. So my goal is to capture all the towers and keep them. So this way my production will be faster. And if enemy captures the tower back, then my time will increase again. So if I capture 2 towers, it went to 11. So now if I capture more towers, it goes to 9. And if I lose the tower, the time will go up again. This logic makes sense, but it's not completely implemented yet, so I don't want to show you all the code because there are some mistakes. I'll get to this later when I polish this. And additional thing that I implemented is the particle system, which is making fireworks when we capture the tower. It's doing this fireworks splash, boom, see? It just adds a nice little touch. To do the particles, there is a new object type called particles, which you can create. I called it fireworks. I set an image of firework. I put it somewhere out of bounds, so we don't see it initially. It will be invisible. I'm not going to cover all these details because later when I create effects, I'll devote the whole video just explaining how we do different effects and particle systems. So for now, it's just an experiment, a quick one. So if you want, I just show you my settings on the left, but I'm not going to be explaining everything for now. This is not yet polished, it's just an experiment for me. So once we capture the tower, the code is over here. Our flag tower will spawn fireworks in the position of the tower Y, and we wait for 4 seconds for fireworks to complete, and then we destroy an object fireworks. So that's how it's appearing in the game. And finally, I decided to add the cursor to make sure we know where we're clicking. So I made 3 frames, which is just in Photoshop, it's becoming smaller and bigger. Right, it's quite easy. Then in our project, I created a new sprite called cursor target. I upload the image there, and then you see when we click somewhere and we have units selected and want to move them to the position, we set cursor coordinates to mouse coordinates. We wait 1 second for the animation to play, and then we move somewhere coordinate out of bounds. Now if we select our units and we click here to go, the cursor is appearing. And you can see it's appearing and it's telling us where to go. So it's working just fine. So what issues we have for now that I want to solve before we do any shooting and fighting? First of all, like I said, we need to count the towers properly. For now it's not counting the towers. It's supposed to count the towers, change the colors. You can see the blue one are not working properly. Some of them turning blue, some not. Then if I have too many towers, my production can get too fast. Another issue I have, if I have several units, sometimes when they go, they're all overlapping like this, you can see. So I want to see if I can solve a group movements without such huge overlapping. It's not a big deal, but just nice touch to make the game look a little bit more polished for group movements. Another issue I have for now is all our AIs are moving at the same time. I have randomization, but still, for some reason, they're all moving at the same time because they're all instances of the same object. And I want to add more randomization to the movements of the enemies. And if we capture all towers, I have a performance test. Our production should be super fast. And then we have thousands of units appearing. So let me just quickly capture all of the towers, and then you'll see the production will be so fast. Look at this. We have thousands of tanks appearing, and look how powerful this engine is. I have thousands of tanks and they're still moving. So we can really create like giant armies. Look how powerful this engine is. So this gives me hope. Look, they're all pathfinding around, and there are thousands of them. It's like the billions game. This is really funny. Oh my god. Wow. There's so many. Oh my god. Let's make a screenshot. It's crazy. Alright. I hope you get inspired with my progress. Now I'll go to celebrate my birthday. And thank you again for watching. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Leave me in the comments below what we should do next, what we should improve, and how we can get our little game better next time. Thank you for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.